To Sahara TV, bye-bye.
It's my pleasure to be back. Hi, Tokwe.
We're glad to, we were thrilled to hear about your new book, which is your new work that you just presented and launched some couple of days back. And we'll appreciate you tell us about the background of this work and tell our audience about your work at this point in time.
Thank you. It's a collection of poems, 64 poems in 5 parts and with a prologue and an epilogue. And it was put together, one, to mark my Golden Jubilee, but as part of a broader project of 4 collections of 64 poems each. If you look at the DNA, you have strands, 4 strands between 64. So it's to give a DNA strand of my life's story and views, essentially.
Very interesting. I went through the book, and perhaps definitely our viewers will be looking at it based on what we're on the screen at this moment. That's Drafts of Becoming by Babayi. You tell a powerful anecdote about your life and your journey, foundation years, as well as some of the things that affected you as you went into your course of life as you get to your Golden Jubilee years. Could you just give us a brief overview of Drafts of Becoming?
Drafts of Becoming, it starts with my roots and founds. It's dedicated to my parents. Without them, the first steps wouldn't even have been there. But Drafts of Becoming looks at my formative years, as well as the struggles one went through as a student unionist, as an actor. But it also goes beyond me as an individual, because reality is social. It speaks also about the kind of nation, the kind of ideas, the kind of system within which I have evolved as a person in contestation for a better world. So, and it also, of course, it's not only politics. Life is, there are matters of the heart as well as matters of the head, and this all add up to the totality of each and every one of us as human beings. So it puts that in perspective. So it's about going beyond just being to understanding the process of continuous remaking of what I am as part of us.
Amazing. People know you as an activist, and now they're knowing you as a writer. You've actually written quite a number of books recently, and you've actually been involved with people know that you've been involved with Coalition for Revolution. Can you tell us something about your activism and how you became politicized and how you got, into writing?
Thank you very much. Well, Nkrumah said we need, I'm paraphrasing him here, we need men of action who think and men of thought who act. So I think that writing and acting acting in the sense of as an activist, have to go together. And for me, I've been more of an essayist. I've written extensively and book chapters in a number of reputable publications, and I'm also contributing editor of an academic journal, the Review of African Political Economy. But Drafts of Becoming will be my second book. The first, Era of Crisis and Revolts, was on the politics of the occupied Nigeria within a world in crisis. So now I would say that a lot is happening that needs even more interpretation. So there'll be more writings in the coming period to better understand where we are and what is to be done.
So, we're looking at your literacy narrative. I mean, going through drafts of becoming, which seems to be part of who you are, your formative years, so to say, and how you became an activist. And I didn't know. I'm still yet to actually get how you became a writer, as a matter of fact, which I would really love you to also point out. You talked about your triumph through education, as well as your perseverance and all the rest of them. Can you talk a little bit about your formative years and how you come to have this love of language?
Well, quite interesting. I'll say my first attempt at being a writer was when I was 13. I remember I wrote then longhand and sent to Macmillan Publishers, and I actually got a response. The principal even spoke about that on the assembly ground, and that was at the Federal Government College, Odogbolu. I think if it was in systems where people get nurtured, probably I might have started writing. I mean, fiction. It was a thriller much earlier, and I still intend to also look into other genres of literature. Talking of my formative years, it was quite, first was that I was always someone that made friends and tried to impact on my environment. And and I also went to quite a couple of schools for several reasons. So in the process of that, I learned, you know, it's not just like when you say traveling is a form of education. Also, meeting people. Everybody is in a sense something of a book, and you know, it's just like you can have a book and not understand it if you don't read it. The more you interact with people, the more you interact with human reality, the more you're part and parcel of this, and you try to interpret and understand, you know, and that is why there's a writer in everyone somehow. It is also about finding it, about nurturing it, and about, you know, seizing the bull by the horns.
Amazing, amazing. Now let me ask you, because it seems to me that your development as a writer over the years is deeply rooted in your desire to be heard and to have, you know, have friends here, you know, based on what you're saying. Let me ask, what's the connection between your poetry from Drafts of Becoming and activism?
In fact, you know, at my early stage as an activist, interestingly also, I would say I got politicized at the same time I started writing. Then in the university, got more involved with the Students' Union. Virtually all of us were poets, so that no one saw himself or herself as a poet. It was part of the struggle. It was part of telling our stories, you know. For me, what you said also brings back that, well, some will say long standing, some will say long rested, but yeah, that debate all the same between art for art's sake, you know, or art for, you know, to impact on society. I think that generally speaking, it is impossible, particularly in our climes and times, for our arts not to speak to the social reality in ways to bring about change, in ways to inspire change. Now, that does not mean the same thing as bang, damn, slam, you know, just, you know, art, there should be something artistic about art. Otherwise, I mean, you can't call it art, but it should also not just be something stratospheric that does not talk to our earthly realities in terms of trying to change the world, which in a sense should be the point.
Amazing. Let's just go a little bit on some of your poems in Drafts of Becoming. In the roots, the first part of the poem about roots and for me, your formative years, as a matter of fact, there's this poem about Flower of May 31st. Amazing, quite an amazing. There's something I just wanted to read about. I mean, you talked about the mass quakes of youths on the street. No, this could not be tolerated. It had to be drowned in blood. I mean, powerful expressions and words were used there. And how does that tell the story? What most people want to find out. What happened on May 31st that changed everything for you? And how does this transform or transmute into the current realities of Nigeria?
Thank you very much for that. I didn't see that coming, but I like it. And I'll put things in perspective. May 31st here speaks to May 31st, 1989. That was the peak of the anti-SAP revolts. It was, for me and a number of people that we've been together since then, it was the first, in fact, it was, since independence, the most startling anti-imperialist revolts. You know, it stood against SAP, which Babangida had said there was no alternative to, and it was a mass quake. And on May 31st, which was called Black Wednesday by some, over 70 people were killed in different parts of the country. For some of us who were then at the University of Ilorin, we reached some conclusions that there was a strong need to build organization which could help give direction to struggle based on a Pan-Africanist and international socialist perspective, and where the revolution could defend itself. So it took us to the Black Panthers, it took us to Che Guevara and the Fidel Castro, it took us to Regis Debray, you know, and it also took us to Tony Cleave, it took us to Ernest Mandel, in trying to look for answers on how to move forward in building organization that could take things beyond that awesome mass movement that was drowned in blood on the 31st of May, but whose spirit was never quenched.
Amazing. It's not just all about, you know.
So it's in that sense that we are amazed. And sorry, very quickly. And when you look at it, May has been more often than not a month of struggle, you know, just as it is also a month of spring, of revival, of renewal. So we are amazed based on the May 31st, 1989 M31M.
Interesting. And it's not just about activism. I'm still going to go, I mean, to look at other, you know, poems, I mean, parts of the book of Drafts of Becoming. We also have elements of, so to say, comic relief. I mean, for example, In Dangerous Disguise. Quite amazing. I mean, I was moved. I mean, listening to, you know, the expressions and your use of words there, you know, bedecked to beguile the day, I walked with assurance. Little thought was given to the dangers of being taken for what I was not. I was greeted time and again, Assalamu alaikum. And alaikum salam. I replied each time. That wasn't hard at all, was it? Little did I know that much more was coming. And then this came. Alpha, lead the prayer. Yeah. Said, oh, bearded man. Yes, please do. A dozen voices echoed. I was trapped in the design of the disguise. Yes. I mean, what brought about this?
Yes, this was in 1991 during the Academic Reforms ACAREF campaign. And we are organizing across the country and beyond. And I decided to disguise as an Alpha. because the SSS was looking for us. So I disguised as an alpha, and then they looked at, I had this big testbell which I collected from Kerad, and right? So I didn't know that I was putting myself. So when they said, with this testbell, this must be one Ogbonge alpha or imam. They now said I should lead the prayers. I was like, no, I did. They said no, I had to lead prayer. But I now, appeared, no, that how can the older people like this that I bow to their, so eventually after a lot of you lead it, somebody else led it, so I just stayed behind. When the person goes down, because I couldn't lead it, I didn't know the procedure.
So in other words, you decided to hide in plain sight these guys.
Exactly.
Quite interesting. I mean, a lot of things to come up with as far as this poetry is concerned. Let's go to other issues, if you mind. Though people, I mean, a lot of us know you as an activist. Others see you as a socialist. I mean, I want to ask you, what does socialist politics and anti-capitalism play in your activism and political thinking?
Quite a good question. Yes, you have several people being activists based on different ideas and what have you. For me, it's that socialism is the entire body of ideas and movements that stands for overthrowing the exploitative system of capitalism and for the self-emancipation of working class people. By the way, when between 13 and 17, I was quote and unquote anti-socialist, because I also, like many people, saw what was happening in Soviet Union as the picture of socialism. And to me, that was not a better. There are aspects of, housing for all, this and that, but people don't just need bread. We need bread and roses. Not only housing, but freedom, democracy in the fullest sense of the word. And this is one thing many people don't dare to do. I dared to read, to understand what actually socialism is all about. And I realized that it is the most fleshed out thinking, it is the most organized body of understanding how to change the world. So it has guided, it has informed my politics and continues to inform it as a revolutionary socialist.
Now, let me ask you, how do you see the relationship between poetry, considering your recent work, Drafts of Becoming? How do you see the relationship between poetry and activism in your work? And does one hold one importance to you, or are they equal playing field? Does one feed the other, or are they more symbiotic?
I'll say symbiotic. As I said earlier, in my formative years as an activist, almost all of us were, at least wrote verse, and in fact, meetings would read poetry, because we are also inspired by those before us Pablo Neruda, Agostino Neto, Che, even Marx, all were poets in their own ways. So my poetry is informed by my politics, and both come from the same heart. But as I said, poetry, work of art, cannot just simply be black and white politics. Yeah. It has to have color, because effort to the novels and all that. He said hard work. You got to put in time, you got to put in effort, and you got to follow up with this. Secondly, is for one to have confidence in oneself. you don't, there are rules, but you, and the more you know the rules, the better for you to break them if you want to. But define your own pathway, you know, and try to be the best of what you can be as a poet. And yeah, I think those would be, but hard work, 99% perspiration.
So we'd like to, I mean, make a short selection of your poems available to our viewers. Can you introduce us to the collection and what the poem means to you? Is there a favorite part of that poem that you want to read to our audience?
Well, it's a bit, I don't know. I'll say the prologue and the first poem in the part one kind of introduces everything, and then the epilogue also speaks to not only the closure of this particular volume, but gives a view to the forthcoming volumes in what will be the project, the 4 series project, of which this is the first. So
can we have a reading of that, of the first one? If you don't mind.
Okay, a prologue of sorts, and it's Heart of a Poet. It's filled with verse beats a poet's heart, unearthing streams of words, distilling dreams from thoughts, flowing with feelings and meanings. Filled with verse, the poet's heart beats, flowing like a gentle stream, a raging tumultuous sea, which blows bitter sweet breeze, opening the mind's eye to see. Filled with joys, sorrows, passions, serenity, madness, fullness, and aloneness, the poet's art is the earth that births life in death.
Amazing.
So yeah, so that's is a prologue for the poem itself. Yeah.
That's quite interesting.
Okay.
600 moons.
600. Okay. Well, 600 moons.
Let's hear you read.
Okay. I have lived through 600 moons. I have been one with all its 8 faces and eclipses for half a century of my unfolding story. I have seen its many faces as a face. I see it in the punctuated orbit of reality, in skins and blood and the sky we can touch. I see it in reason, and I see it in feelings. I have seen the brightness of its light at night, a real mirage of the magnificence of its darkness, a gift from its face we do not see, which receives the sun's light and heat. I have been tossed by its tides, embracing and resisting lunacy on the high seas of life, riding on king tides to the coastline of living, believing, and new beginnings. I have faced wars under the blood moon, conquering 4 end times with 9 lives. I have found love in the blue moon, picking the pieces of my broken heart each time. I have seen the moon receding, spinning the tapestry of becoming into the circle of seasons. I have seen the bold give firm old terrestrial arms to spiral galaxies beyond the Milky Way. I was born with my fist clenched, the moon's regolith in one hand, dust of the earth in the other, and the sun's machete in my teeth. I have been one with 600 moons, which are one. Tuesday born, I am Shegun. I have been one with the moon, the sun, and the stars in my universe. I am because we are. We have been from the beginning, we shall be, through the unfolding wrinkles of being, to the unending end.
Amazing. Amazing.
Thank you.
That's quite interesting. In the aftermath of COVID pandemic and the continuing devastation of this planet and the crisis bedeviling this country called Nigeria, what is the future for activist and social movements in Nigeria and the region? Your final thoughts.
Well, I think they are both challenging and promising possibilities. And it's not just Nigeria. I mean, my role in the global working class and activist movement shows we are in a period, and I'll sum up with that, which Antonio Gramsci described as when the old is dying but refuses to die, and the new cannot be born. He called that interregnum a period of morbid symptoms. So we are in a situation where there are great challenges, but if we dare to seize the time, organization, carrying out mass conscientization, and noting that the educator must be educated, the organizer must be organized. For those that want to build social movements genuinely to themselves, take up the task of knowing what we're talking about. It's not enough to just slogania and all that. It is necessary. This is a moment, it's an historical conjuncture. And I'm an optimist, a critical optimist, but nonetheless an optimist. I believe that we can rebuild the social movement in Nigeria for transformative change in the country.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.